Monday, Labor Day, September 7th, 2020. Welcome once again to the Trap Suit Podcast, bringing you the latest in news, politics, and of course, Trap. I'm your co-host, Peter Alexander.
How you guys doing out there? I'm your co-host, Danny Boss.
And we have a very, very special guest today joining us on the podcast, another political commentator, Zack Leary from The Last Outlaws. So you guys may have heard of him, actually. Zack, do you want to introduce yourself? Just give a quick little...
Well, thank you for having me, guys. I really do appreciate it. Fantastic channel. You know, I was checking out some of your guys' content. Really some interesting stuff. So thank you for having me. You can check me out at The Last Outlaws on YouTube.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll put all your links in the description below. So we do politics, and we've been following the campaign very closely. Personally, I was a Bernie supporter in the primaries. Mm-hmm. We're both very anti-Trump for obvious reasons. He's destroying the world. But you yourself, I think you're a Howie Hawkins surrogate, right?
Video production coordinator.
Okay.
Not a surrogate.
Not a surrogate. Okay. So, I'll just ask you then. What are your thoughts on the state of the race? Who do you think people should vote for? I know you're very critical of Biden, rightfully so. But I don't know, just touch on that and we can go from there.
Well, I think that Donald Trump has an edge, and that is, totally against what the mainstream media is telling us right now. I think Trump has an edge based on, have you seen the aggregate polls of the battleground states?
Yeah, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania.
It's basically a tie. I
think Biden's up by about 2 or 3 points. But yeah,
1 point.
1 point.
I said it was 1 point.
Wow. Okay.
So I also believe, so that's what's really going to call the race is Ohio, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. And I do think that the polls underrepresent Trump support. I'm not sure why that is, but I mean, clearly we could base that statement on what happened last time. And I think it has to do with a couple of different reasons. I think people are kind of afraid to publicly declare their support for Trump, because it has a stigma,
sure.
Right? But it's interesting. I think the polls are wrong. They were wrong in 2016. And I think Trump has an edge. I really do. I mean, if we're looking at national polls, Biden's going to run up the vote totals in these Democratic states like California, New York. So he's going to win the popular vote, and he could win it huge and still lose the election.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so personally, and you have a sizable following. Would you recommend people to vote third party, to write Bernie in, to stay home? Third party.
I would.
Okay.
There's too much baggage with Joe. There really is. There's just too much going on there. He says, let's character is on the ballot, right? That's his statement.
Sure.
Well, I don't like the character of Joe Biden.
Yeah.
I mean, I could go down the list, right? His policy record, the creepiness, right? Have you seen this? Creepiness?
Yeah. No, we've talked about it.
Yeah. No, that's not for me.
Sure.
There's just nothing about him I like. And, I think another point I want to make in regard to why people shouldn't vote for Biden, like this is the crux of my whole point here, is that they cheated you twice, right? It was more blatant in 2016 with WikiLeaks that revealed that Clinton had a contract with the DNC in 2015 before anyone had even announced, right, that she would control staffing, fundraising. So basically she was installed as the nominee ahead of time, right? That's the technical abilities of the nominee with the party after they have the nomination. So they already had basically given it to her. This time, Biden was dirt broke before South Carolina. Dirt broke. He had no money, right? Do you remember? No money.
Until Jim Clyburn endorsed him, and then Super Tuesday, everybody dropped out and coalesced around him, and Buttigieg and all of them, yeah.
Right. Well, I wonder if you've heard this figure, that the mainstream media after that gave Joe Biden $100 million of free positive media. That's why he won. So he's dirt broke. Here's Bernie Sanders with his 30 million or whatever, which was a big number, outraised everybody.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Joe Biden wins one state. They give him $100 million for free.
Mhm.
That's how he won. So it's a cheat. And the mainstream media, that's another arm of the Democratic Party.
CNN, MSNBC.
Right.
Especially MSNBC. Yeah. Okay. So I actually don't disagree with anything you're saying, but the only thing I would say is if you don't vote for Joe Biden or if you stay home, then it's a vote for Trump. And because it's a two-party system, unfortunately, and I am for like ranked choice voting. So like, you know, you put your top 5-6 candidates. Joe Biden wasn't even my second choice. You know, probably Andrew Yang, Elizabeth Warren, Tulsi Gabbard, right? But we're in September. It's less than 60 days away. Either Biden or Trump is going to be president. I mean, let's keep it real. So I can't. And I was watching some of Howie Hawkins' interviews, and you know, he's for reparations. He's for like co-ops, things that I think had Medicare for all. I think things that America desperately needs. But it's just like, okay, we can vote for Howie Hawkins, and then instead of Biden, and I'm in California, my co-host is in California, so our votes don't necessarily matter that much. But if people in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and Michigan vote for third party, or they write in Bernie or something, or stay home, Trump wins those states, and like you said, it's pretty much a dead heat. Trump wins 2020 again, and then where are we then? You know, it's like we're set back another. There's more COVID deaths. You know, no Medicare for all. People are getting $1 million bills for their COVID treatments. I don't know if you saw that. It's crazy, and then not to mention his toxic views on you know, what's happening with Black Lives Matter movement and kneeling and police brutality. Trump is totally in defense of, you know, every cop, even the ones that are bad cops, cops, right?
Well, Joe Biden, like, see, this is how I would characterize that, is under Trump, we've had some divisive language, for sure, right? But take a look at Joe Biden's results have been far more detrimental to the Black community than what Trump has done. Joe Biden, who wrote the crime bill,
sure,
right, which is the catalyst of mass incarceration and locking people up for no reason, for smoking pot. That's Biden's history, right? So Trump says some nasty things, for sure. But under Trump, before COVID, we had record unemployment across the board. You know, so that's kind of how I see it. I mean, he says some nasty things. He gets his red meat guys riled up.
But before COVID,
right?
we had said record unemployment or record employment before COVID.
Oh, record employment. That's what I meant to say. Yeah. Right.
Sure. Yeah, true.
But that's how I would look at it. You know, is Joe Biden's history with mass incarceration, with his bankruptcy bill, which doomed a generation of youth, definitely had a big impact on minority communities as well.
Danny, do you want to get in here?
Yeah. So if I can understand Zack's point, there is actually a political theory that allowed Trump to win this election cycle. Because if I can understand your point, and let me know if I'm characterizing it wrong, just in light of the Black community, because I did watch your video, Joe Biden, since 93, the crime bill, everything that he did, even his civil rights history record, pretty much, as we say, he's capping. He is lying who he is. He changed over time.
Sure.
And because you got that, endorsed Barack Obama, that really we don't know who Joe is. So there's a theory, let Trump win in one sense to, well, America's going to get what America's going to get. It's just going to keep on getting worse. And then elect someone like Bernie, who's actually doing things for the way your self-interests are, whether it be social justice issues, whether it be employment, whether it be, so actually elect a candidate that kind of like Trump, a campaign promise, campaign promise kept.
Like elect a populist, somebody who's for the people, right? Speaks to everyday working people's issues, right? Trump
select someone who's actually going to do select someone who's going to actually do what they say. Like Joe Biden's just a Band-Aid.
Okay, well, Trump hasn't done.
I don't think he's a Band-Aid either. I think in some ways Biden could be worse than Trump. I've been having this conversation, or I've been trying to start to have this conversation with progressives. I got 4 different progressives. I was on a stream the other day, and it was 4 people for Biden and just me.
Okay.
Going back and forth, right? So it was a little crazy, but I got 4 people to admit that Donald Trump is better on trade. See, I'm an independent, right? So I don't subscribe to that Democrat Republican mentality. So
Okay.
I can see the good in Trump, although I don't support him. I don't like him. I don't think he's a good guy. In terms of trade, he's much, much better. I mean, Biden's support of NAFTA, permanent normal trade relations with China, is the reason why, and Hillary's support for those same things is the reason why the Rust Belt likes him. And because it's real to them.
Yeah.
They lost millions of manufacturing, white-collar jobs. So on trade, that's an issue that I definitely think Trump is better on.
So do you agree with the tariffs on China?
Yeah, I like him. Mm-hmm.
Really? Okay. Because it's correct me if I'm wrong. The theory behind the tariffs are short-term pain, because you're gonna see increased expenses on goods, because they're going to be either taxed higher for people to outsource to China, or they're just going to have to start manufacturing it in the United States. But it's going to lead to long-term better economic results, because you're going to end up hiring more, making more, manufacturing more in the United States. Is that the argument behind those tariffs?
Well, I just like the idea of squeezing them a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
But doesn't that hurt our farmers?
Well, it's a complicated debate, right, on tariffs. But the main point about Trump is harsher on our trade allies, okay, which have basically been allowed to run wild. It's like, so if I have my company here and I'm forced to compete with somebody in China, right, an American company making their stuff in China, how am I going to pay people $15 an hour when my competitor is over there paying people 50 cents an hour?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that's something that the president can actually deal with. You know, an American, let's say you, me, we're not going to go out there and work like the Chinese do. That's just not in the social contract. So I do hear you on the point that, you know, I think Trump wants to appear that he's better on trade. I'm not all the way sold with Biden all across the board. However, going back to your main point, if we see and we can acknowledge that Trump is the worst candidate ever, really the only political theory you can advance is just keep it making it worse and worse. Don't come in first term, one and done. Kind of like Bush, there'll be someone to save him after 8 years. So that's the only theory I can agree with you on. But as far as trade, it's very hard for me to think that Trump has done anything. Because with trade, and I'll end with this, it ties in with foreign diplomacy. So if we're not credible, in our international ability to have reciprocity, you know, if China doesn't take us credibly, Russia, Iran, trade kind of falls flat on its face.
Yeah, I don't really agree in a lot of ways there. Let's just leave that one off the table, I suppose. But in my mind, Trump is better on trade.
You're an economic protectionist, basically.
Well, I mean, if we look at our trade policy, this is the last thing I want to say about this, because it's not a main point.
Sure.
Is that it's a main point in terms of policy, and it's one of the only things that I kind of like with Trump. With Obama and with Clinton, right? We were selling our jobs out, right? We were selling manufacturing out of our country, right? That's a staple of the modern Democratic Party.
Yeah.
That's what they've done. That's what they've pushed. That's what they've tried to push with TPP, which Obama, Hillary, and Biden like, right?
Yeah, right.
So that's the only point I'll say there. But in terms of Danny, you mentioned the only thing you could get behind, right? Your theory of sort of let things sort of blow up and then put somebody like Bernie in there.
Right.
I kind of have the theory that why reward the Democratic Party? Why reward them for cheating? It should, what they've done is, in my mind, illegal. Why reward them for spitting in the faces of voters and people who gave their own money? We funded this campaign, right? They cheated us twice. So why reward them for cheating you? You've got to be able to pull the ultimate like thing. Like you've got to be able to say, I will walk away from you because of your corruption and your behavior.
That was my kind of reaction when Bernie first lost, because so the free media, the $100 million of free media coverage, I didn't know that figure, but yeah, I totally remember when Bernie dropped and Clyburn endorsed and Super Tuesday, Buttigieg, Klobuchar coalesced. It was, and Warren really disappointed me because she, puts herself out as progressive. I'm Bernie Sanders light pretty much. And then the time comes, she stays in the race, South Carolina, Massachusetts, Texas, takes a bunch of votes away from Bernie, still loses in Massachusetts, her home state, but makes sure that Bernie loses as well, right, to Biden. So I was totally with you there. Don't reward the Democratic Party. They're dishonest, and they have, they're very entrenched with old media and decades or centuries long industries like the health insurance industry, pharmaceutical industry, military industrial complex, British industrial complex. On some things, they're as guilty as the Republicans. But my only caveat, and the only reason I came around to Biden, it was when the Black Lives Matter protests started happening and George Floyd and Trump gassed protesters, and he talked about to do his little Bible, his Bible photog, outside the White House gates, and he talked about re-invoking the Insurrection Act from the 19th century, which was a law that Congress made to quash slave uprisings. And he said, if you're going, if you're going to protest against me, then he's pretty much trying to make protest illegal, right? Which is in our First Amendment. And he's characterizing all the protesters as violent, looting, rioters. They're going to invade
Some
your.
of that.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that.
I live in Portland.
Okay.
And it's horrible.
Okay.
Everybody I know is a Democrat. I don't know. I know a couple of Republicans, but like everybody in Portland is Democratic. So nobody I've talked to, like neighbors, friends, family, is happy with this situation. Like we don't like seeing this happen to us. Like, I mean, I am 110% in favor of peaceful protests, but and see, it's so tricky. It's like, who is rioting, right? Who is doing the, like, I don't know if you saw just like a couple of days ago, there was like a Molotov cocktail thrown or something, and there was a big fire in the middle of the street. I don't like seeing this. Is that what it was?
No, but guy got caught on fire. I know what you're talking
about. Oh God. See, like, I don't like seeing this kind of stuff, man. Like, this is not cool, so yeah, but in terms of Joe Biden being better, I love protests. Like, I love seeing the march in Washington that was just recently happened.
Sure.
But like the rioting, see, I kind of have the belief that you can be anti-riot and pro-police reform. That's my position. And I don't see a lot of people on the left making that distinction, right? It's a little worrisome to me.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Biden would be worse. I just don't see any proof that he would be better on COVID or better on this protest situation.
If I can, Peter, do you mind?
No, go ahead.
As far as the DNC, man, I agree with you, Zach. I remember when Hillary and then the president at that time, she just up and quit because they had given it to Hillary. I remember that, 2016.
W. Wasserman Schultz, right?
Yeah. And then I remember just looking at my some people around me, and I was like, if Trump gets the nomination for the Republican, he'll win. And even Peter, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I've said that Trump is going to win this election cycle. So I do agree with you, Zach, that look, if we don't hold the Democratic Party or the candidates to, like, again, campaign promises, not this kind of like, hey, you're going to cheat us, you're going to rob us. You're just giving us, kind of like that whole, let me give you a little crumb here and there, and, you keep following me, kind of plantation style, and not holding them accountable to actually, look, give us this. This is what we want. We want you to be held upright, honest, and do what we want as far as like the electorate. However, it's hard for me to digest it because the Republican Party it cheats as well. You know, politics is a dirty game, and so if I can see, okay, both sides are cheating, they're doing things which are below the belt, you know, they're just not above board. But then I look at the candidates and I say, okay, who is divisive? Who is leading America in a worse, or even just look at without the electoral college, who is the mass population, the group of people wanting an office? It's hard for me to not choose Biden in spite of all those things.
So the you know, and that's kind of interesting what we found out. So I appreciate your perspective. So it's kind of interesting. So when they revealed the contract with the DNC, it kind of made me think, well, how long have they been doing this for? Right? How long have they been doing this for? I can't get over the fact that so it was way worse than we thought. Like, we knew there was some lopsided situation at the DNC. They put Wasserman Schultz in there, who was a Clinton 08 campaign person.
Yeah.
So that's not a neutral person. So we knew there was a problem there. But Donna Brazil, I might even have the article somewhere over here. But she published this bombshell article in Politico and said they had a contract with the Clinton campaign. Like, I mean, how we can let the Democratic Party get away with that, to me, is crazy. I mean, if we want to talk about Russia, which is a can of worms as well, right? I think the biggest election fraud we've ever seen, publicly at least, like, you know, like I said, who knows how long they've been doing this creepy stuff for, was that primary. And if you look at Iowa, right, so there's all these little creepy things that have happened. If you look at Iowa, they both pretty much tie, and Hillary wins by 0.2 or something. In 2020, Bernie Sanders pushes to release all the numbers. We find out that in 2016, they were posting something called an SDE, a state delegate equivalent, right? What is that? Nobody's ever heard of anything like that. And it's not the popular vote. So the fact that he pushed for that, other people have made this comment that Bernie probably won it last time.
Yeah.
And think about that. Right out of the gate, Bernie wins Iowa and New Hampshire. That's Iowa. Correct me if I'm wrong. Obama won Iowa against Clinton, right? And then she won New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Iowa launched Obama, right? Pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So
it was like Buttigieg this time around, but Biden
technically, right? Technically.
Well, not quite, but yeah.
Yeah, nobody cares about an SDE. We want to know who won.
Yeah, correct. Yep, agreed.
But I think that could have changed things last time if he would have won Iowa.
Well,
go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I don't know. I kind of want to compare Biden's versus Trump on because you said you talked about Biden's history on civil rights, and then you said about COVID. You said you didn't know that Biden would be better than Trump on COVID response. So maybe we talk about like those two next. Unless Dan, you want to chime in for the last kind of time.
No, please go ahead.
Okay, so on social issues, and I totally agree with you. The rioting and the looting, it was happening. I'm in LA area. It was happening around here. This shit is scary. They're talking about going into neighborhoods, and really a lot of the damage is hurting regular people, small business owners, not police or government, right? So I think they're kind of getting in their own way a lot of the time with these protests, and I think it's just pure frustration and just like we tried peaceful protests, we tried marching, and now we're just angry because this stuff keeps happening. Which I'm not excusing, but I'm saying that's where it's coming from. But not that I agree with it. But Biden, like last week, even said, rioting is not protesting, looting is not protesting. So Biden is not he's not pro riot. He's not even pro defund the police. He wants to he says he wants to fund police for more community policing and training programs, body cams, the typical Democrat schlock they try to say to just, quell the violence or whatever. So Biden, I don't agree with him all the way either on it. But in comparison to Trump, I mean, Trump was defending Kyle Rittenhouse, right? The guy who ran into a crowd and with a rifle and shot and killed 2 people, and now is claiming self-defense. And his lawyer is on Tucker Carlson saying it was self-defense as well. He's been charged by the DA's office with double homicide, right? So if the prosecutor is even saying this is, you have to have a lot of evidence to charge. You have to have probable cause, right? So if it's enough for the prosecutor to say like, hey, this was not self-defense, we're going to charge this kid, 17-year-old, with double homicide. I don't know how the president of the United States, which, by the way, the prosecutor and the president are supposed to be on the same side. They're both government, right? But you have the president defending a double murderer and saying, I don't know what happened, and he's making light of it, and 2 people are dead. I mean, I can't, and you have Biden going to visit the family of Jacob Blake versus Trump going to Kenosha to do a rally or a public appearance and drum up his supporters. I can't see how Trump is going to be better on social issues. Every time one of these things happens, whether you have what was the other guy? George Floyd. Okay, you had Candace Owens. The right wing always disparages and tries to vilify the dead person, the dead black man, right? And the right wing and Trump, ostensibly, always on the side of the police. There's never going to be any police reform under a Trump 2020 to 2024 administration because
did he pass something? No.
Did he what? Sorry.
I thought he did an executive order or something.
He did. I think they banned chokeholds for the Breonna Taylor thing. Not him, but like whoever the North Carolina, whoever the officials were, and I think he was in support of that. And I think he did something with like, well, he kind of alludes to like, I want to pardon people like Alice Johnson for petty drug crimes and things and nonviolent crimes, but he doesn't do it, and he did like the First Step Act, which is like, it's just that, it's a first step, but it's so minor. And it's like cool, good for Alice Johnson, but there are tens, hundreds of thousands probably of people sitting in jail right now for weed charges, right? I mean, I used to work in Washington, in the government, Washington State, and in Jay Inslee, you might remember him, the governor, he pretty much did a program where if you have a nonviolent marijuana offense from the last like 30 years because of Biden's crime bill, right? You can just apply on kind of like a website and have your charges expunged if you hadn't had any further crimes from that. And he did it like, basically it was like automatic, and it was like, he's not even going to look into your record. If you don't have any more convictions, he's just going to automatically pardon you. Trump could do that. He could do it right now. He doesn't have to talk about it, but he doesn't do it. And he dangles it over people and he says, vote for me. Okay, only I, he uses it as a campaign, enticement to get people to vote for him. But he's been the president for 4 years. He could have mass pardoned every single marijuana nonviolent offense.
So could have Obama.
True. Okay, that's why I was for Bernie.
I mean,
yeah, okay.
Like these Democrats, I mean, they pretend they're better on policy, but I mean, barely, right? I mean, Obama let the people of Flint drink poisoned water.
It's true.
He didn't care.
Yeah.
He didn't care. So in terms of policing, I think Biden would be a better spokesperson for the country. Okay, I would say that. But do I think that Joe Biden would accomplish anything meaningful? No, I don't.
I agree with you. I do, because even Kamala, we're from California.
Right.
She did.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Peter, while you were talking, I mean, the people who are incarcerated on weed charges, that 93 bill is exactly what Zack was saying.
Yeah, Biden's crime bill. Yeah.
Yeah, he's. It's so. I think I see your point, Zack. You really want change. You really want someone not just to talk that talk, but walk that walk, as the very opposite of Trump. And at least what Trump is doing, he's doing what he says he's about. If I could, as a black person, let's say I see Biden in 93 and I watched your video. He's making that speech. It's on the Senate floor, right?
Yeah, that's. I mean, how gross is that speech?
Yeah.
God, guys, he's just like super. He's hitting all the terms. You know, don't accost my mother, and and I'm thinking to myself, man, this guy got the Medal of Freedom. But if I could, Zach, and again, Peter, correct me if and both of you actually, as a black person, you know, you're trying to get I guess we would say you're woke, or you get it.
You're what?
You're woke.
Okay.
But most Biden, let's say Biden, the older generation of ours, right? Like you were saying, our parents' generation, black, they don't know that. They don't know that, you know, he's really not who he says he is. But in our generation, we look at a Biden and we say, at least he came, and it's a sad statement. But that's what, I can speak for myself. That's what happens in our communities. We can look at a person and be like, well, at least they progressed from that ugliness in 93, you know, spouting that pretty much what Trump says nowadays and what was popular at that time. And we look at Biden now and we're like, well, he's probably doing this rhetoric talk because it's popular and that's how he's going to get the black vote and the, you know, people of color.
Well, that makes me sad, man, to hear that.
It's the reality, you know. We or else what do we do? We don't have.
Look at a guy like Bernie. Bernie was the same. You know,
the guy was getting locked up with civil rights. I know. I hear you, but like I told Peter,
I've always been the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm born and raised in Portland. We've always been to the left, right? We've always pretty much been to the left. My family of mainstream Democrats as well. So, but that's such a strange rationalization to me. Like, at least they were able to overcome their hatred and bigotry, right? Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's no. I mean, go ahead.
Well, it also offends me that you have black leadership like Clyburn, who are selling out their own community. I think that's one of the most sickening things to enrich himself, and people like Sharpton, people like John Lewis, and so these civil rights leaders, you cannot take somebody's accomplishments away from them. So I congratulate them for their civil rights record. But if this is my perspective, if you see a guy like Lewis who has a platform, like, I'm one of the only people in the world who is a famous civil rights leader with a platform. What am I going to do with my platform? Nothing. So, Lewis should have been on the front lines. These civil rights leaders who are still around should still be on the front lines, and they haven't been. They haven't advocated for any sort of like big policy push.
I agree, and even further to your point, Martin Luther King himself was a bit of a progressive, a socialist in today's terms. He was for things like a UBI, universal health care. He's on record with these things. So, I mean, you can probably extrapolate that Martin Luther King would have been a Bernie supporter, right? Well, maybe not like if he had advanced, if he had lived this long, but Bernie was pushing for the same policies that MLK was pushing for. So it is kind of sick that you have Lewis and, rest in peace, and Clyburn who were, with him, who are now supporting Biden, who Biden is the antithesis or further right than Martin Luther King was himself. And I really don't disagree with anything what you're saying. I even listened to the Howie Hawkins interview, and he's for things like reparations, which I think that there's an objective case for reparations. I think there is a debt owed to the Black community and for slavery, for Jim Crow, for redlining. And Biden's not, right? And probably a mainstream Democrat never will be a corporate Democrat. But the only thing I disagree with you on, it's fucked up because we have these supposed leaders of our community, Clyburn, and they run to Biden and Biden and Obama. They were in office for 8 years and aren't doing shit for the Black community. It's fucked up. Yeah, but it's just the only caveat is just like Trump. What is Trump doing for the Black community? Is Trump helping the Black community or is he hurting the Black community? Under Biden with Kamala, do I think Black people will be better off or worse off? Probably marginally.
Well,
right.
Well, we had Trump for 4 years. We had Biden for 40 years. Joe Biden has done more harm to your community than Trump has. I mean, if you want to talk about, like, I think social media and all this stuff, what people say, is less important than what actually happens. Like, to me, like, the online stuff is kind of like
Right.
out there. It's not real to me, like as real as something like jobs or something like the health and well-being of a community that has drinkable water, right? So that's real stuff. Under Biden, um, like, just the crime bill alone, right, negating everything else, I think is disqualifying.
I agree with you, but at the same time, I'm hesitant because, again, look at Bill Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
We used to call him the blackest president before Barack Obama. And you see what he did with the 3 strikes. He incarcerated.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
His wife, right?
Ugh.
Yeah.
And Hillary, super predators. We have to bring them to heel. What a disgusting statement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Bring them to heel.
Yeah. Like animals, right?
Yeah. But but to me, if we alienate, again, it goes back to that. It's just like things
They
move.
can't
slow.
win without the black vote.
The Democrats.
They need the black community as much as the black community wants them to create change. They need the black community.
Right, and the Hispanic community, they need to come.
Instead of letting them dangle little hypothetical police reform in front of you, what it's like, pull back. I would love to see police reform, but I think we need, and not just police reform, but on every major issue, I think the Democratic Party needs to feel a little pain, feel a little heat before they will start to do something.
I think then we can agree that we have one party in this country. We have a Republican Party, which is call it far right if you want.
Death cult.
The majority. And then you have a centrist right, which is the Democratic Party. But it is, I think, Zack, if we were to say, which America a person of color or myself would want to live in under, it's 2008. Everyone knew that Iraq and Afghanistan was bullshit. People were going up home loans up the wazoo. No job. They used to call it, I think they call it kung fu loans. What was it? I don't remember. But it was anyway, like, no job, no credit, no even status as far as being, and they were just getting loans. It was like the Wild West. And Barack, who, even in the black community, you don't want to say anything bad against because he's like, what do you call him? The white knight, for lack of better terms, the black knight. He came in and he did TARP. He got us out of the recession. He could have done more. I remember there was a shooting with the professor from Harvard, or not the shooting, but there was the complication between a cop on Harvard campus and a professor, and he had a beer summit. I think what I'm trying to impress upon you and the listeners is that, as a black person, if you are too much about the rah-rah, let's make a change, this is how it has to be, and really, own that, like Bernie. You don't live to see Bernie's age. You die as a Martin. You die as a Malcolm. So we are having to reside to the fact, okay, we're going to wait for people like the Hillarys to come over on our side, which it sucks. It takes 40 years. We're going to wait for the Bidens, even though we know. Just posted it on our social media. Thank you for that. His Senate speech. We know their records. We know how they treated, how they talked about us, probably how they still believe. But compared to Trump, who, we know without a doubt, we're not welcome. And he hasn't made that advance, whether it's superficial, whether it's for the vote, whatever it's for, he's not even giving us the lip service. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. But what would Biden do that would benefit the black community, and like especially in terms of like a long-term basis. I mean, we had the first black president for 8 years, right? And what got done? What is Obama's legacy? I don't really think he has one. I mean, he's like a he's a smooth character, right? He's a good speaker. He was a good cheerleader, I think. Like he represented well, right? But in terms of policy, what did he do? He gave us Mitt Romney's health care plan when we had a Democratic House and Senate. This is the Democratic Party. That Obamacare is Mitt Romney's health care plan.
It is.
But hold on, they had the House and the Senate. They could have done whatever they wanted.
True. Supermajority. Yeah.
And they did nothing, like not just healthcare, but in terms of everything. They could have passed a ton of stuff, but they did nothing. And that's granting Obama his full strength, his full power.
Yeah.
Democrat House and Senate. The country wanted something to happen. Hope. We believed into it. But what did he do? He did nothing. He let the people in Flint go without drinkable water. He did not achieve any sort of lasting change that will affect people going forward. We didn't get criminal justice reform. We didn't get legalization of marijuana. He could have snapped his fingers and legalized marijuana with an executive order. And he didn't do nothing. He doesn't care. If you look back at his interviews, he said in an interview that he was a moderate Republican, is who he is. He said, if I would have ran back in the 80s, I think this is the quote, if I would have run in the 80s, I would have been a moderate Republican. So, like, it's just hard for me to get behind the concept, just based on the history and of Obama and Biden, that they would do anything positive. I mean, they run a clean ship, no scandals really, but what's getting done?
It's 2008. It's the worst depression since the Great Recession. It's the worst recession since the Great Depression. I hear you, but the pharmaceutical companies are very difficult. The insurance companies are very difficult. He, I don't know if you remember it, sat down with Mitch McConnell, at that time, John Boehner, and he was trying to come to a consensus. Now he's a smooth talker. He's kind of like a mediator, someone who wants to come to consensus. But the country was in a lot of turmoil. I think we passed 1.2 bills, one 800 billion, other like 700 billion. The
ran
most
up the debt, though.
but
He
like
got us out of the depression, ran up the debt, spent
under,
more money. That I think, is this the correct figure? Spent more money than all the other presidents in our history combined. Is that right?
I don't think now, because we just passed under the CARE Act a $3 trillion.
Oh, okay.
Huge corporations.
Gotcha.
So to me, the fundamental point is they got us out of that. And I would rather live in America, which you catch Osama bin Laden, which you have employment record numbers, where the stock market and Main Street are coming back. I ought to give them the money to Main Street.
Well, let's take the recession out of it. Okay.
Now?
No. In looking and examining Obama's record, you make a good point with the financial recovery, and I think that's definitely a positive element of Obama's legacy. But like, let's look at, so that was a curveball, right? But let's look at, so he was sort of thrown into that situation. He had to deal with it. But let's look at like what his intentions were as somebody who was going to be legislating, right? What was his intentions? What were his goals? He ended up giving us, like I said, Romney Care. He didn't really accomplish anything in my view. Like, can you name like a big, impactful Obama era policy?
With the automobile industry, he brought him back. You remember? Oh, sorry. You don't. Sorry. You don't want to. I wasn't being facetious. You don't want the economic recovery. Okay.
You got us out of Iraq, right? Pretty much.
And got us into 8 more wars. We were in 2 wars. So I guess got us into 7 more wars. So we were in 2 wars when Obama took over. We were 9 when he left.
You know, when we were chasing bin Laden since Desert Storm, and we're the ones who, I don't know if you know this, he trained in Kansas, and the bin Laden family and the Bush family are close. So Desert Storm happens, and then Barack comes in, and we get him in the Forgotten Country.
But in Pakistan, I think.
Yeah, without telling them.
We're coming up kind of on an hour, so I just want to talk about the COVID response, both health-wise and economic-wise, Biden versus Trump. Because we could go all day about, Biden's record is shit. Obama.
I'm having a great time.
Okay.
No,
You too. Yeah,
that's good. Thank you. Yeah, it's good. It's so
good.
refreshing. So refreshing. Okay. So let's talk about COVID response.
because we're not agreeing. See, that's boring, right? If we agree on every single thing, it's
But respectfully.
Yeah, no, I'm having a great time.
Okay, so Trump and the Republicans, Congress, are currently stalling talks because they want to give, I think, under $1 trillion for the next stimulus. Democrats are going to do like 1.5 to 2 trillion for the next stimulus, including a $1,200. I think Republicans do agree on the $1,200, but they want to give they want to do a skinny bill, right? Republicans, I've never heard one say that they're for free COVID testing and treatment. I think the mainstream Democrat platform is free testing at least, and free treatment. I believe Joe Biden did say at least. If the Democrats held a majority of the Senate, people would have their $1,200 stimulus checks. They would have had them, right? Unless Trump vetoed it, but they don't. So that's why all these bills keep losing. So this is a critique of Trump, but more so Republicans and Senate Republicans and right-wing kind of ideology. They don't seem, they give all these tax breaks to, they gave a $2 trillion gift in their Tax Cuts and Jobs Act to, mega corporations and the top 0.1%.
Don't lose your train of thought. But do you not think Biden would have done that?
I think I looked in Biden's tax plan. Trump's corporate tax rate is 21% right now. Biden is proposing raising it to 28%. Kamala wants it at 35%, which is what it was under Obama. So Biden is no friend of the poor, the working man, the middle class, but he's not as bad on corporate taxes as Trump and the Republicans are. It's just and like I said, Biden's he's really my guy, but it's just a choice. It's just a dichotomy. And then another thing I'll say about COVID, and I'll hand it off to you. In terms of the health factor of it, okay, Trump goes everywhere without a mask. He did the rally in Tulsa. Herman Cain died, right? Herman Cain's ghost is still tweeting on his Twitter, telling people not to wear masks, right? Trump has not, he toys with it and he says, people should wear masks, but then he goes everywhere without a mask and he's, touching people at the RNC. He had a huge crowd, barely anybody wearing masks, right? Everywhere you see Biden, he's wearing a mask. He encourages people to do it.
Yeah, but we get that criticism when Trump does a little thing with 150 people, but we have these massive protests and nobody cares about social distancing. And so it's like one of those things. It's like you can't be concerned about one and not the other. That's all I'm saying is I want people to be consistent.
Sure. The protests, I would say I think the majority of people at the protests do wear masks, but it's probably not good.
Well, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
no, it's like the protest. I can't defend that because it's just like it's just people doing what they do. It's just it's pure frustration. It's pure instinct, right? And so that it's not good. It's not. I agree that they probably shouldn't be out at all. But if they're going to be out, everybody should be wearing masks. But I don't think Biden was defending the protesters not wearing masks, right?
No, but I'm just saying I see people on social media bringing up and hitting Trump on what I think is kind of a low-hanging fruit issue. And then but it's like.
And then you see Trump, talking about hit the body with bleach, and he, disparages Fauci. He disparages Fauci publicly. He doesn't listen to people. He wants to rush a vaccine. He wants to stop doing testing, right? Because that's how you get the numbers so high. Trump is, he pretty much wants to go around and just ignore it and act like almost 200,000 people haven't died because he knows it makes him look bad. And Trump supporters they don't even think this is real. They think it's like a conspiracy, and they think it's like, oh, those are fake numbers, those are crisis actors, So I'm just like, at least Biden believes in science, like on a base level. At least Biden is like, listen to the experts, listen to scientists, Fauci, epidemiologists. Don't rush a vaccine. Social distance, wear masks. Biden said he'd be willing to do a shutdown again, which I'm not totally in favor of because I think, that the cure might be worse than the disease, kind of in that way of thinking. Because you do another shutdown, the economy's on its last legs. But I'll let you. can't respond here.
I forgot what I was going to say.
It was a long.
Sorry. Just basically on.
No, I hear you about. Yeah, I mean, like I just have a hard time giving Biden props for anything. You know, I mean, I just don't like the guy in a lot of ways. But so like when I hear like so you went through a list of like he's better on this. Trump is an idiot. He's talking about injecting bleach into people. It's like that's natural selection. If somebody wants to go and inject bleach into them, then they're stupid. That's natural selection.
But that's the guy at the head of the government telling people to do that.
Yeah,
That's
no, he's retarded.
Yeah,
he is. That's stupid, right?
Well, but I'm saying to have a guy like that at the head, that's my point. Like Trump is extremely influential, and if he's saying something as dumb as inject bleach, God knows what the fuck else.
I kind of think it's funny. You know, I think Trump is I mean, there's just something funny about him. Like, I mean, just like even the ego part of him, I kind of find to be funny. Like, he won't apologize. I saw a quote from him that's absolutely, I will apologize. Hopefully sometime in the distant future, if I am ever wrong. Right? There's just something funny about somebody who is that like arrogant and narcissistic. I don't know what it is, but yeah, he says some dumb stuff. He's always said some stupid stuff. Like, but Trump shut us down in January as a response. Huh?
March.
Oh, March.
Yeah.
I read January somewhere.
March, yeah.
Well, when did he close us off to China?
I think that was February.
But it wasn't all people from China.
I swear I read January. Okay, but whenever he shut us down while the Democratic Party was calling him racist for shutting down travel, right? And when he, I don't know if you guys remember this, when he shut down travel, when he did that,
January 31st, shut down from China.
January
31st, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
So he way in advance of when things got crazy.
Sure.
Right. He took proactive steps. Like, you can criticize him, but it's an impossible situation for any president. I think a pandemic, which we haven't had since who knows, right? Long time. But he shut us down early. When he did that, Pelosi went down to Chinatown in LA, I think.
San Francisco, I think.
Okay. And she goes down there and does this big photo op thing and says Trump is racist, and, you know, she's dancing around and stuff like that. I think that's worthy of giving props to. He's made some big mistakes. We were not properly set up to deal with a situation like this, but neither would any other president is kind of how I see it. So it's an impossible situation. Like, I think if COVID were not a factor, Joe Biden would have no chance.
I said that in the last show. I said, COVID doesn't happen, nobody can beat Trump. That's even Bernie couldn't, I don't think.
Well, Bernie had a legit chance. It would still be an uphill climb, but he had a much better chance than Biden. I think still would.
One thing I'll just say so they had the pandemic playbook, Obama's team, when Trump comes in 2016, 17.
He fired the guy or something?
He fired the guy, he threw out the playbook, right? So they're totally unprepared. And we did have, swine flu and Ebola under Obama's tenure, and H1N1 swine flu. And it never got this bad, right? I don't know if it had the capacity. I don't know if it was as contagious as COVID is, but just the fact that we dealt with a couple of health crises, or the potential to be health crises under Obama, at least two, and they dealt with it. They contained it, and they didn't do it loudly. And I remember when Trump put Pence in front of the COVID response. That's how much Trump was like trying to minimize. He was like, I'll give it as a side job to Pence. He's going to be the head of the COVID task force. And then it got crazy. And so Trump had to be like, okay, now I have to step in and start doing the daily conferences and shit. But like Trump, like he minimized it, and it got so bad. And it's just like now they're just scrambling. That you can tell they have no idea what they're doing. They have no idea because it's spiraling. It's out of control. 200,000 dead. The only real chance is a vaccine, which is probably at least like a few months away into 2021, and public confidence in it is not going to be anywhere close to what it needs to be for it to really work. So I do think Biden would have handled COVID better initially, and I think even just stepping out of the way, listening to scientists, and if they recommend, hey, let's do the shutdown in February for 3 months, total shutdown, right? And don't leave it up to the governors. Although I'm not sure legally how he could have done that. I don't know if the president has the ability to like shut down sovereign states. But Trump didn't do that. And he says, there was two cases in February. Nobody would have agreed, right? Which has a point because it wasn't crazy in February. Oh, does it sound?
It's good. I like it.
Yeah, no.
I like the Trump.
No, yeah. But I'm saying like, he was saying like, he was downplaying it at the beginning and then it got crazy. So I'm just like, I can't think Biden could have handled it worse than Trump. I can't see evidence for that. I go on Biden with statements and listen to the experts and he wears masks and he encourages all.
Sure, but like, I mean, the fact that he shut down travel, I think, is at least something in his direction in terms of credit. What about Joe Biden's cognitive state?
But before I answer that, so not Joe. You're not for Joe.
Absolutely not. No.
You're right in.
Third party.
Right in it.
Nobody could convince me. I am deadlocked in against Joe. I would not support him. If he came out tomorrow, said I support Medicare for all, free college, and this and that, and legalization of marijuana, I still wouldn't vote for him.
But then
he's a demonstrable character.
Because you wouldn't believe him.
I wouldn't believe him.
Yeah, he would believe it. But then I think you have the Trump effect, if I may, which is I've heard you dismiss Trump's, for lack of better words, fuck ups. Lysol, grab him by the pussy, the military.
Well, is it really a big deal? Yeah. Right? Is grabbing by the pussy really a big deal?
Well, he does have like 20 standing sexual assault accusations. Wow. Biden has a few too. Or he has Tara Reid, so. But.
Yeah, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, please. You're the guest.
Go. Well, I had Gary Byrne on my show. And Gary Byrne is a former Secret Service guy. Yeah. And he worked for Bush Sr. and Clinton.
Yep.
Byrne told me a story. So I had reported something about, and you guys may have heard this story too, Biden walking around in the nude in front of his female Secret Service detail.
Heard that.
No?
Break news.
I did break the news. We got like over 500,000 views. Oh. Nobody had heard these stories, right? But I reported some of these articles and stuff that nobody was really talking about. And so I bring on Byrne, and I do like an hour-long thing with him.
Yeah, I've watched it. It's great.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
So I end up asking him about this story, and this is Joe Biden, right? If you believe him, right? And so we've got tons of sources. I brought a guy on who's willing to talk. Not only would Joe Biden walk around in the nude when his wife was away in front of his female Secret Service agents, like I'm talking buck. Yeah. And this is so weird. This is what Byrne told me, that he would make eye contact with the women and giggle and jump around and stuff. That's who Joe Biden is. How freaky is that?
All right, okay, yeah. But Trump goes backstage at the Universe pageants and says,
Well, I mean, why are we comparing who's more disgusting?
Yeah, they're both gross.
How can you get behind that? Like, I'm sorry to put that image in your head, right? But it's creepy.
Yeah.
He's a weirdo. If you see him coming up to the little girl, right, coming up behind them like this, and whispering something and moving the hair back, it's like that's like somebody's daughter, some little 11-year-old girl.
Yeah.
How freaky is that? Byrne also told me that Biden, and there's tons of reports of this from different events, at all the Christmas parties and the official gatherings, Biden would grope nearly every single woman at the party.
Like their ass or like
both.
Okay.
Ass and tits would just come up and just like
TNA.
Yeah. No, he would come up and just like grope everybody in the party.
So you're not defending Trump, but you're just saying you're kind of also criticizing Biden, and they're both equally as gross. Or
have I defended Trump? I mean, you've given me words, right? It's like, I mean, I can defend
Oh no, Trump's done. I mean, he has sexual like rape accusations. Trump.
No, I know that,
Yeah.
but it's like you guys are sitting here trying to convince me Biden is better. I'm just letting you know he's not. He's not.
We're not trying to convince you that Biden is better. I think I can't speak for my lawyer friend, but at this late stage in the game, Trump is Hitler's brother, and according to
I don't agree with that.
Trump is Hitler's brother.
No, I don't think so.
And then as far as like the little girl, I mean, look, Clinton was with Epstein and all that, but
yeah,
Trump has paid a porn star $130,000, a porn star that I could go jack off to right now. So
yeah, but that's like I agree with Zack on that. That's consensual, you know. I mean, that's his business. He wants to pay, you know.
You want your president to pay?
I mean,
hold on, campaign money, possibly.
That's not okay. That's potentially a crime, which Trump may get charged for.
Is it a crime? Because you can pay yourself a salary with your campaign money.
Well, Cohen, didn't he go to jail for that? His lawyer?
I have no idea.
I think one of the charges was like, I'll look that, but it was like misusing campaign funds. But the only reason I think Trump wasn't, I mean, he's unindicted co-conspirator. He was like individual number one, right, with the Cohen case. And you can't charge Trump because he's a sitting president. But so I'm not even like, no, that's probably beneath the character of a president, but it's not, you know, if it's not rape, you know, it's not, you know, it's just, you know, he's a pig, right? Whatever. But it's not like sexual assault. Trump does actually have standing sexual assaults, which they're kind of in limbo right now because he's president, and he might have to face that once he loses.
I never really saw anything about it, really. Like, have you seen an interview with one of the women or something?
Yeah.
Danny, I'll let you continue, but I'll look it up here.
No, it's fine. They're coming out of the New York, the Southern District. So they're a couple of charges. I think they're trying to get him on the Capone, the tax. But then he has some which, you know, there's that theory in politics that you don't want to charge someone who's in the executive branch, aka the president. It just has never been done. I think that was the whole Robert Mueller thing after his investigation. So they're sitting on it. But Trump does have some women who have alleged sexual assault. And just even from his words, he's admitted it, you know, and just walk up and kiss him or grab by the pussy. But that's no here nor there, and that's not going to win an election.
I don't know. I don't know if that's a literal statement, right? The grab him by the pussy one, you know, it's just one of those things. I mean, that's just like kind of dorky to me. That's not something somebody, you know, that's not something a cool guy says, right? Oh, I just walk up and grab him by the pussy. It's like, what are you talking about?
But then, you know, I'm not, you know, that's the Trump effect. Trump gets this, he gets this pass, whereas, and maybe you told the little girl, you know, your dad's doing a great job. You know,
I don't know. It's just weird. Did you see the one of Biden saying kids like to touch his legs?
I did not.
Can we play videos on this?
You can add them, yeah.
Yeah, I can edit them in.
Can we pull them up now or no?
Let's see. Well, it might like slow down the connection. That's why. But,
if we could figure something out.
Let me see here.
He's just a weird guy, you know.
Okay, so on Michael Cohen, one of his counts was a conviction was one count of making an excessive campaign contribution at the request of a candidate or campaign, which is Trump. So, you know, Trump was president at the time he got convicted, so he couldn't be convicted with him. But if he wasn't president, Trump probably would have been charged in that. And so Trump has at least 17 women have accused Trump of inappropriate behavior, including allegations of sexual harassment or sexual assault. And there's only one who has done like a legal action against him in terms of the sexual assault. Another one is doing defamation. So we'll see, but it's pending right now. It's ongoing. I'll pull up the thing on YouTube you just sent me, but I'll throw it back to you guys.
Nice. I just got your link. Appreciate it, Zach. Yeah, it's Joe Biden speaking about exactly what he says. We'll have to add that link in.
I wish we could play it.
Yeah,
we can't play it.
I'm pulling it up.
I'm not the host. I wouldn't play it, but I think it would slow it down. We will add it in because want to.
I think I can play it. Okay.
Okay. All right.
You have the link or no?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Have you guys seen this?
Yeah, I think I have. Yeah, that's the corn pop. That's the corn pop thing, right? That's the same
Speech.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's crazy. He's really, yeah.
As you pull it up, just to circle back on Obama, he did do policies as far as in education. He reformed policies, climate change, surveillance, immigration. He was really hard on immigration. So I just wanted to tie that.
He was tough on immigration. He deported more people than Trump.
Yeah, he was. And even
in 8 years.
policy.
In 8 years. Trump's only been for 4 years, but Biden did in 8 years.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was very tough. The immigration, he was very, very tough.
We do need immigration reform for sure. Yeah, I mean, but nothing serious, you know, nothing serious, nothing that makes a statement,
What do you
you
mean?
know. Well, I mean, it's nothing of, you know, lasting effect, in my view.
Are you saying we need that, or that's what they've done?
Well, I'm saying he didn't really do anything in my mind that I look to and I'm like, okay, he accomplished this, and that.
Well, he was deporting at the highest rate a Democrat has ever done.
Well, I didn't say I support that.
But then doesn't that lead into the so what okay, let me start with the basic. What's your idea of good immigration policy?
I mean, I think we need a pathway to citizenship. I think we need. I'm kind of less concerned about. I am for clearly, you know, having border protections and stuff like that.
Sure.
I'm not for open borders, but I do think we need a more humane and inclusive immigration policy with a pathway to citizenship.
Okay.
And do you think Trump would you know make that happen?
No,
yeah,
I don't.
Right. And Biden would he's probably for some version of that, right? Pathway to citizenship, right?
I don't know. I don't really know what he represents. I mean, he goes out and gives little speeches and stuff like that, but it's all platitudes. It's like let's put the soul back in America. What does that mean?
Yeah, you're right.
What the hell does that even mean?
Yeah.
That's nothing.
No, it isn't.
Nothing.
Yeah, no, the character and the soul of America is at risk. He's really saying nothing at all. And I think, actually, I've said it so many times on the show.
This video might get us like banned.
Oh, well, I played it.
Okay, let me play it here. All right.
No, we can approve of Zack. We're good now.
Pretty explicit here, kind of gross. So we'll do screen share here.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I do think that Trump is gonna win because with those platitudes, and he's not giving much, if anything.
Aha.
Yes, sir. All right. Is the sound not playing?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
What video is this?
I don't want to see this one.
Is this not what you
freaky
sent
one.
me?
The freaky version.
No, this.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
No.
Never
Mind.
This is why. Oh, because I just looked up hairy leg Biden, and this is what came up.
Yeah, I'll send it to you right now, man.
Okay. No, I got the Twitter one.
This is the animated version.
Yeah.
Oh God, look at that. Jesus.
Come on now, this is come on.
All right. I think we get the point about that. Yeah, that was nasty.
Well, I mean, maybe I can just play the audio for you real quick, just a little soundbite.
Okay. Please. I think I remember him saying that, and that was the corn pop speech. And
actually, hold on. I'm gonna go grab some.
I was gonna talk about just quickly on immigration, Trump versus Biden, and I'm like you. I'm not very you know, I'm not for open borders or anything like that. But I think like sensible immigration. I've looked into it marginally. I think they say the experts say economists immigration is overall a net positive to the economy. You know, controlled immigration within reason, but not a total shutdown like Trump wants to do. I mean, and if you listen to his supporters, they want no immigration. They want shut down the borders. They want the wall, and you know, particularly from brown countries, right? I wonder why. But Biden's plan on immigration is He does not support decriminalizing border crossings. But he wants to do kind of like better technology for the border, cameras, sensors, large X-ray machines, towers, a moratorium on all deportations. He said within the first 100 days of his administration, he would
What does
only.
that mean?
That's. I guess he's saying he's only going to deport people who are convicted of felonies. But basically, he's saying like if you just come here, if crossing the border is your only crime, which is a misdemeanor, he's not going to immediately deport you like Trump wants to do, right? On path to citizenship.
I don't think I'm for illegal entry either.
Well, but it's a misdemeanor, right? So Trump wants to deport people for crossing the border. Biden would like have it play out, some people do it for asylum reasons, right? It's a lot harder. It's going to be a lot harder under a Trump administration to plead asylum and actually get in, on those pleadings versus a Biden administration. Biden would be more probably sympathetic to those people.
He's just telling you that he's not for that. That's all.
Okay, and then on path to citizenship, he says he wants to work with Congress to create a path to citizenship for 11 million undocumented immigrants, as long as they register with authorities, up to date on their taxes, pass background checks. Platform also states that he would allow cities and countries to petition for additional visas to support economic development. So that's Biden's immigration plan in a nutshell. Trump, I don't think we even have to look it up. He's pretty anti-immigration. So I pretty much agree with Biden on that. I think once you have the people here and they're living here their entire life, I don't think it makes sense to penalize them and try to deport them. I mean, people are paying taxes. They got their kids in schools. They're paying sales taxes, right? They're paying property taxes, right? So, I'm pretty much for basically Biden's plan versus Trump's plan. But I'll throw it back to you.
Sure. Yeah. I think Biden probably has the better policy, but I don't think I am in favor of, and I would be willing to look into it a little bit more. But I see I'm not strong on this point here, but I'm leaning towards I don't want illegal entry into the country. I think we should know who's coming in and have we know, the government has all our numbers and all our information and stuff like that. I think that's probably the most positive situation. But I would probably agree Biden is better on immigration. But, people talk about Trump's immigration cages. Obama built those.
Yeah. I think that story gets like a little, I think, misconstrued. I think Obama, he built them, and did he use them though? Was he like, because under Trump's people, you're going to have kids who are never going to see their parents again under Trump's administration, right? They're still trying to connect with people because they keep the kids and they deport the parents, right?
I'm not sure about that. I'll take your word for it, but I haven't read that.
I think they're looking for, a lot of kids have been separated from their parents.
You keep the kids if they're American. That's how they get separated. And they said they're, because, they're usually born here.
Well, why were they separated?
Separated because, go ahead, sorry. Peter.
Go ahead, no, you go ahead. I'm looking it up here.
They're American. So oftentimes they're kept here while the parents are deported back to their countries of status.
You mean the kid is American?
Correct. They're born here.
No, so the parent comes with the kid from like Mexico or Guatemala or wherever, some country. January 2020, the SPLC, Southern Poverty Law Center, reported that the official government number of children separated from their parents or guardians was 4,368, though it's likely that the accurate number is much higher. And that's because of the way that Trump was, arresting the parents or deporting them right when they come and keeping the kids in cages. And so that's how the kids get separated because Trump doesn't want to hold people here to wait for a court date. He wants to deport them immediately. Biden would be like, you cross the border with your kids. Pretty much it's catch and release. You have to, you can't hold the parents in jail and then, where do you do with the kids? You're not going to send the kids to the jail. So that's how the kids get separated. But Trump he deports the parents because he doesn't even want the parents in the country, and then the kids stay. But I think he's leaning towards like just deport everybody right now, even the kids. So
Obama had a good policy on that. What was the policy? It was the Dreamers policy, right?
Yes, exactly. That's another thing, right? Trump.
I like that. Yeah. I like that policy.
Yeah. I don't think Trump's in favor of that. People.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good policy. I like that policy of Obama's, but it's nothing really spectacular. I like the guy. I think I would have a beer with him. He seems like a cool guy.
Who?
Obama.
Well,
He
okay.
just seems weak. Like he just didn't really do nothing. Did you know Bernie was going to primary him?
In 2012 or 8?
12.
Yeah. I mean, you know.
Bernie was serious. Bernie was going to do it, and Harry Reid talked him out of it.
Yeah. I'm glad he didn't because, yeah. When did Obama have the supermajority? Was that 2010 or 12 or really?
It wasn't 8. I think it was 8 when he was elected. No,
I don't know.
That's what I remember.
It was 8. It was 8. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And I think to your point earlier about Obama could have done more. Absolutely, he could have. Every president can. But when you're coming in as the only reason I cut Obama slack is why he doesn't do health. He didn't do health care. He could have done a lot more. And I know what you're about to say. Prison reform, all of that. But the only thing I would say, okay, he's the first black president. He's inheriting an economic dumpster fire, a recession. You got Bin Laden on the loose. You got people calling him a Muslim secret operative. You got all kinds of it's anarchy in 2008. Okay, Obama went in 2008. The number one priority was the economy, right? People are losing houses, adjustable rate loans. People are losing houses by the millions. It's a crisis. So Obama, yes, people are worried about marijuana legalization and prison reform and a myriad of things. But if you're the president, you have to get the number. It's like COVID is now. It's like the economy is right now. It's like people aren't talking about marijuana legalization right now, but they are. But it's not the priority. People really, really want their keep their jobs, get COVID under control. So when you're coming in as a president and you're inheriting that kind of disaster, you have to prioritize yourself, right? And you can't do too many things at once because you're just gonna the focus will be drawn away from the thing that people think you should be really, really focused about, and they're gonna say, why are you wasting your political power on marijuana legalization? 15% or 10% of the country is unemployed.
You don't have to lobby Congress for that. You could just do an executive order.
I don't know if that simple. I think because it's the
yeah. You take it out of the drug code or whatever it is.
Yeah. Schedule 1. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's a huge thing, though. So it's like if you're going to do that, it has to be like built up to it, right? No.
I don't think so. I think you just do an executive order. There's a lot of things you could do with executive orders. FDR was famous for that. They called them the alphabet agencies. He would just snap his fingers and make something happen.
That's true. And they criticize Obama for that, right?
Well, I mean, see, like if I'm thinking about what somebody's doing in a certain situation, I try to think of it like, what would I do, right? If I was president and Flint was without water and I'm this big popular president like Obama,
sure,
right? The media is going to be all over it. What if I fly down to Flint personally and I'm out there making a big deal out of it? I'm calling for people to resign, and I want the governor to show up right here in front of all the cameras. I want the governor has 5 hours to come right down here and explain to the people what's going on. Could you imagine something like that? That's what he could have done. Like that's I'm for brutality. I'm for political brutality. So could you imagine if he had done that? And
I can't imagine Obama doing that because he's not that kind of politician. That's a Bernie move. That's a Bernie move, right?
I don't think so. Bernie is spineless. Bernie's weak. I like him a lot, but he doesn't have what it takes. He's not.
Who's your guy then? We're nearly coming to an end. So 2 questions for you, Zach. Biden, okay. Trump, and who's your guy or your gal then?
Howie Hawkins.
Hey, there you go.
So you don't mind voting third party, even though probably it's going to, Trump or Biden. It's going to be Trump or Biden, but you don't mind still.
I will never vote for a neoliberal.
You're principled.
Well, it's just how it is. I'm not going to support a Clinton or a Biden. I don't care who the Republican nominee is. In my view, if the Democratic Party has to lose for the next 15 years,
okay,
I would be happy to see it.
Even if you were in a battleground state, you would still vote third party.
I'm saying I don't care if the Republicans retain the White House for the next 12 years, 20 years. Okay. I think the Democratic Party needs to hurt badly. I'm saying that's what I would be willing to do. Is that what I want to happen? No. Mm-hmm. But I'd be willing to do it. I'm not going to. I'm not going to support this neoliberal Democratic Party.
In
But I'll
order
vote.
for it to change.
Hmm?
In order for it to change. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I'll support my horse in the primaries. You know, if my guy makes it or gal makes it into the nomination, I'll vote Democrat. You know, but I think we run our horses in the primary and then abandon ship if somebody horrific gets in there.
Which is probably what happened, right? It's kind of the current situation.
Do you think you have a career? This is my own personal question. Do you think you have a career in politics, or do you want a career in politics?
I would be open to it.
I can see it.
Sure. Yeah, I'd be open to it, but I mean,
Not as a Democrat, right?
I don't know.
Not as a neoliberal.
So you'd be a Democrat in progressives clothing, right? You primary them like Bernie did, basically, right?
It's hard for me to see it, but I mean,
I see it.
I don't know. I think you should run.
Who?
Peter.
Both of you.
Nah. Stick to the podcast, man. I don't know, man.
I hear you. Me too. I got my own problems. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to be running for nothing.
And then I do. Go ahead.
I was going to say I do appreciate the fact that you talk about actually standing for something, your convictions, not falling to corporate demagogues as Democrats. So.
And
yeah. Sorry.
The last thing I'll say about Bernie, you said he's spineless. I think,
Sure.
so Bernie was trying, he bit off more than he could chew. You know, he wanted to change like America in a way that has not been seen since FDR, right? Universal healthcare, tuition-free college. These are things that people, especially old people, younger people under Bernie overwhelmingly wins that percentage of the country. But in terms of just healthcare, you have that's what is that? Several million jobs. Those are heavy. Those are dark rooms. That's like the House of Cards shit, right? And it's just like you're coming in to do that. You're going to face billions of dollars of opposition. And Bernie, he fought the good fight, but ultimately it was just more than America wasn't ready for Bernie. He was just ahead of his time. You know, I think in 20 years, when our generation, kind of 20, 30-year-olds are the people in power and of all the companies, and we have all the money, and the baby boomers kind of die off. Somebody like a Bernie, maybe an AOC, maybe they would be able to kind of pull that off. But in 2020, America just wasn't ready for it. And that's why I don't see myself getting into politics, because even if you have all the good ideas and you genuinely want to help people vote against their own interests. We see it in the Republican Party constantly. You have people who are living in trailers voting for Trump while he's giving $2 trillion tax cuts to billionaires and multinational corporations. So it's like, I can't want to help you more than you want to help yourself. So that's why I can't, it's not for me, but I commentate.
Well, Bernie had no strategy. I mean, his strategy was a self-promotion campaign. It's something I don't like about the Green Party as well. They go out and they just promote green ideas. But you've got to explain to people that the Democratic Party is evil and they are against you. They're not for you. Their policies are anti-worker, anti-minority. People just don't know it. You've got to expose it, and you've got to do so in a way like I would say you need to use a sledgehammer in going after your opponents. I think that progressives should adopt Donald Trump's campaign strategy against his opponents. Bernie could have went down the list and dismantled each and every one of those people on the stage and humiliated them. But he wants to be a nice guy, and I've never run a negative ad in my life, right? That's who he is, right? But like Trump went and said Jeb Bush. I don't know. Did you guys did you see this when he tells Bush is trying to say something and Trump just goes quiet?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Right? I mean, I would have hit when Warren came after me as a sexist. I would have destroyed her political career.
But that's gonna
I would have blew her up.
It's gonna backfire because they're gonna say you're dogpiling a woman.
Nope. I'll tell you why. I would have killed her. Okay, this is what I would have done. I would have said she calls herself a Native American.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
With 1/1000th% DNA, she's white. She took a Native American's job for her own personal gain. She's a liar. She's a proven liar. Who are you going to believe? Somebody who's willing to do something that grotesque or you can believe me. I have a 40-year record. You can check the tape of me saying a woman could be president in 1980. He's a liar, and she's been proven a liar and a fraud many times over. She's in bed with the same corporate people as Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. That's all you have to do, and you would have sunk her. You'd have killed her. That'd be it.
I mean, it's definitely a strategy. I don't know, man. I think because Warren has a lot of fans, man. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, what you're saying is rational, but people aren't rational. You know, they have their team and they don't care about all of the facts. Like, black people love Kamala, right? Kamala put black people in jail for doing things that she admitted to doing, but they still love her because she's black, because she's the first female black VP. You know, it's identity politics. But you can't even with rational persuasive arguments like you're telling me right now. I agree with you in principle, but it's just like, man, try going to an AKA meeting, you know, Alpha Kappa Alpha, Kamala's sorority, and telling her all the bad shit Kamala's done to black people. They're gonna like throw tomatoes at you. You know, it doesn't matter. Like that's what I'm trying to say. Like you're coming at it so rationally, but it's just like people are so entrenched in their team. It's tribalism. You know, it doesn't matter what you say. Even all the bad stuff about Trump, his people will never leave him. Because it's a cult of personality, you know. Every candidate has that. You know?
Is there a monolithic voting situation within the black community?
Absolutely not. No, you have.
You don't think so?
No. You have old people. You know, the older baby boomers.
What I mean is, like, do they all support the same candidate, like as a community?
No. You had a Bernie split. You have a lot of black Trump supporters. You have not a lot, but there's a percentage. You have
okay.
You have your progressives like us, right? We're young, we're left wing. You have your older people are probably more for Biden because I was talking to my aunt and she basically likes Biden because she doesn't want universal health care because they're in their 70s. They have, you know, a litany of health issues, and they said they're afraid that if Bernie's universal health care plan got passed, the quality of their health care. The quality of their healthcare would have declined. And like my uncle has a heart problem. So that, you know, it was like $100,000, several $100,000 in bills. So they're afraid that a universal system wouldn't be able to, you know, provide the standard of care. They trust their private insurance. They don't trust, like, you know, Medicare. So that's kind of the split. But, you know, black people, I mean, they're across the board. But I would say generally, you know, the social issues are probably more important to black people, or you know, higher on their list for obvious reasons, because throughout American history, black people have been brutalized by the American government. So they care about like civil rights, they care about police brutality. Overwhelming people support Colin Kaepernick in the black community and things like that. I don't know if Danny, you wanted to say something.
No. You asked, how come? How come you asked?
Well, you were mentioning identity politics. I kind of think that, you know, and I might be totally wrong on this. You know, I don't have clearly the same insights as you guys do, but it seems like the black community always supports the Democratic Party, you know, no matter who it is, you know. No, like white people are like 50% Democrat, 50% Republican. And like in the primaries, it's all over the place too. But like black people were with Joe Biden and they were with Hillary, right? Like it seems like as a community, right, or as a group, they sort of like vote together. Does that make sense?
I think that's all people of color, not just black people though. That's also like Hispanic people. It's not as much in great numbers as black people, but I think even Jewish people.
Well, they picked Bernie this time, right? The Latinos went with Bernie.
Yeah.
Can I ask you guys this? I think this is my theory on why Bernie could not perform in the South, because he was not a Christian. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
I think there's definitely something to that. A lot of black people are religious, especially in the South. They're very heavy Christian tradition. And Bernie, you know, he's pro-choice. You know, Biden's a Catholic, even though he's pro-choice, but he's not happy about being pro-choice. So I think a lot of, I mean, there's definitely some of that in the black community. But with Bernie, I think the reason black people break for Democrats in larger numbers than probably every other group is because we just look at, I mean, we have a two-party system. You look at Democrats, you look at Republicans. Republicans are racists. Like it's hard to vote for a Republican as a black person.
Some are.
But I think I heard this somewhere. If you're not all Republicans are racist, but if you're racist, you're probably Republican. Right?
Correct.
So right. It's like, and you have William Barr saying systemic racism does not exist in the United States. He said, so it's just like, yeah, we're not happy about it. It's kind of like, would you rather be shot or stabbed, right? We're not happy
Mhm.
about going Democrat, or I'm not. And I know a lot of young Black people aren't. But when you have it against the Republican Party, who are saying they don't believe in systemic racism, you look at Trump's cabinet, you got Ben Carson and Elaine Chao are the only two people of color in his entire cabinet. Every Trump picture, every RNC rally, he's surrounded by, all white guys, right? Old white guys, right? So it's just like, he's not elevating Black people. He's talking about NBA players are sons of bitches for kneeling against police brutality or disrespecting the veterans. He's obfuscating the argument. He knows that's not what it's about. It's not about veterans. It's not about the military. It's about police brutality. And Trump will not say, he'll never say Black Lives Matter. So it's just like, and not to say Black Lives Matter is a blameless organization and they haven't done anything wrong. And I think a lot of that gets mixed up. But I think the core purpose of it is just there's a specific problem going on with Black people at the hands of police in this country right now. It's been happening, and we're targeted, we're treated differently. So the whole purpose of the overarching purpose of the organization is to address that, remedy that, and have like George Floyd, like Jacob Blake. But Trump and Republicans, they don't see a problem with it. They always take the side of the cops. They defend the cops. And even when there's a blatant misuse of authority on the hands of police officers, government officials, Republicans will never take the side of the dead Black man or Breonna Taylor, for example. And it's like, if you're a Black person, it's like, I can't, it's going to hurt me on some level as a Black person to support a Republican because, you got William Barr denying systemic racism. That means he's never going to do anything about it. When you have, we're both attorneys. When you have 80% of attorneys.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Licensed.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. When you have 80%,
Cool.
80% of attorneys are white in California, and there are systemic, I mean, the Supreme Court or a district court in San Francisco just decreed that the SAT and the ACT should be thrown out and not used in admissions decisions because they have racist kind of questions and the phrasing of it. And, it has also class disparities in terms of how they do the questions, and rich kids can afford tutors. And so it creates a whole system of like people of color and lower income people who are, it's a high crossover with people of color. When you have that, but you see Republicans denying all of that and acting like it doesn't exist, I don't know, it's hard as a Black person, I'll speak for myself, it's hard as a Black person to support a Republican. It's just the lesser of two evils. That's really what it comes down to. But
Well, what about a guy like Rand Paul? Or not Rand Paul, Ron Paul. You guys don't like Ron Paul?
yeah, Ron,
The son of the dad.
The dad.
the dad, yeah.
Well, he's not around anymore, is he?
Still alive.
No, he's alive. He's old, but Ron Paul. He's a libertarian, right? That's his shtick, right?
I mean, he seems like a good guy, Ron Paul. I'm not sure about his crazy financial theories and so forth, but seems like a good guy. I don't know, but I'm sure there's like, I mean, that's an interesting point.
Wasn't he independent? He wasn't really a Republican though. Ron Paul. He was like independent. Yeah. Rand Paul is a Republican, but Ron Paul.
Yeah, I don't like Rand.
I don't like Rand either. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
No, I'd break for an independent if they had a chance.
Yeah,
sure.
That's so interesting what you say about the Republican Party. I never really looked at it that way. Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. So Democrats, as bad as they are on some social issues, I think they lie about a lot of stuff, but they're not actively hurting the Black. Oh, they are in some ways, but Republicans are hurting us worse, definitely. And especially,
it's like I'm sitting right here. I've got my vote in my hand. I'm like, Democratic Party, take my vote, please. I would love to give them my vote. It's right here. Just take it. Offer me something. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I think you get one thing I'll say. I think you get a stimulus check. Another one I'm saying. I think if Biden wins and if Democrats take the Senate and if they keep the House, I think you're going to get things like stimulus checks. Republicans are definitely holding stuff like that up. Unemployment's going to be extended.
Yeah, but it's just not worth it for me. I could not live. I would sleep probably worse at night with Joe Biden in there just because he's just the antithesis of what the Democratic Party is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And if he gets in there, it's a total vindication of the neoliberal establishment. It's like, our way is right.
Mm-hmm.
See, we did it. We beat him.
They'll never change.
So we don't have to change. Exactly.
Yep.
I think he'll change eventually. I don't think he'll win.
Biden, you guys don't think Biden's going to get in there?
No.
Well, he doesn't think Biden will win because he thinks Trump's going to cheat.
No. Two reasons. I don't think he'll get in there because I think Biden will cheat, and then we saw the.
You think Biden will cheat or Trump?
Trump.
I don't think Biden will get in there because Trump will cheat. But then the second point is he will get in there because we saw the breakdown of the Electoral College. If he's already cheating with him, but we saw the breakdown of the Electoral College talking about points, and the percentage margin has to be great. And if we're say it again.
The popular vote, Biden has to win the popular vote by a lot, even just to have a good chance.
By 6 to 8 points to be close to 95%. You're looking at 4 to 6. It's around 20 to 40%, and then 1 to 2 points. So on the onset of this entire
guys, my laptop's about to die. I got like 5 minutes.
We'll wrap it up for sure.
So what we started on the onset of this whole conversation was the margin in the battlegrounds. So Wisconsin, we're looking at Pennsylvania, Michigan, and so if the point percentage is Trump's already leading by 1, the Electoral College is going to go for him. So that's why I think Trump will win.
But Trump will also, he's already doing these, trying to defund the USPS. He's going to sue, And another thing that Kyle Kalinske I heard talk about is Trump might win on election night, or he might be in the lead because people who do mail-in ballots are more likely to vote for Biden because they're like people who are aware of like COVID and So it might take like 5 days for all the mail-in ballots to come in. And then, but Trump's winning, he's up on election night, but say 5 days later, oh, Biden's up now. So, it's going to show all kinds of dissent and conspiracy theories. And Trump's going to say, Biden's cheating, right? Which is like a nightmare scenario. And there's your Civil War too. But anyway, we'll wrap it up.
Bad, guys. No matter what, it's going to be a train wreck nightmare.
For sure.
I think so.
Yeah.
But hey, guys, stay in touch. I had a great time. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming on. We'll put your links in the description below. I'll send you the videos as well. And yeah, well, thank you again from Zack from the Last Outlaw. Go subscribe to him, guys, and subscribe to us as well. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time.